What's happening, War Nation? We're in my old stopping grounds in Carlsbad. Man, it brought back some memories, man, when I had my sports nutrition store out here. But I'm here with my man Phillip. Phillip White, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on,
Thanks
man?
for taking the time, coming out.
I'm glad.
So I'm pumped, man. We were chatting a little bit about what you got going here, and any time that I can connect with another entrepreneur that comes from the heart, right? That's what I'm looking for. Because when it comes from the heart, you know, listen, at the end of the day, authenticity is the commodity. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. And I know we talked about this, but let me have you introduce yourself. And then what we're going to do here at Monster Motivator TV, we're taking behind that black curtain. Okay. Right? And we share who you are, where you came from, where you're at today, and where you see yourself going. And I'm going to chunk that down and pull out those golden nuggets.
All right, sounds like a plan.
So introduce yourself and let us know where you're from.
I'm from Houston, Texas. Originally from the state of Texas. Love it. Never going to change.
All right, good. I'm a big Earl Campbell fan, man.
Absolutely.
He was the man.
Yeah.
He was the man. So Houston, Texas, how long you been in Cali?
Oh, man, the last 15 years I used to be in the military. Still am. 22 years plus.
Still in.
Yeah, I'm in the reserves. I got about 8 months left.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for your service, man.
Absolutely. Man.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And so what branch were you in?
Navy.
Navy? Okay.
Yeah.
How many years? 22 years?
22 years coming in.
22 years, man. 22 years.
Yeah.
So I know you've learned quite a bit.
Absolutely.
In 22 years, and we're gonna share how you parlayed that into your new business. But before we do that, growing up, man, how was your childhood?
Oh man, it wasn't easy.
Okay, good.
You know, just
good.
like
Struggle
everybody else,
strength,
I can't sit here and say that it was.
Okay.
But it made me a stronger character today.
And it made you who you are.
Absolutely.
Right. Without that strength, without that struggle, there is no strength.
That's true.
And
that's true.
And that's just the real.
Yeah.
That's just the real. So you were born and raised in Houston?
Born and raised.
Born and raised in Houston. So what made you go in the Navy?
I wanted to do something different.
Okay.
I was good at school. I ain't gonna lie, I was a classic, what you would call a nerd. Okay. But I loved books. You know, I loved reading. And I love grabbing knowledge.
Okay.
But I was burnt out.
Okay.
I was burnt out. I was like, man, you know, I was at the top of my class. You know, graduated top 10%. But I got tired of school, and I could travel the world. You know, and I love basketball. So I was like, man, if I could go somewhere and play basketball, why not travel the world?
Travel the world on their dime.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was my biggest thing, and still be able to get an education. You know, especially when you're not knowing which technical direction you wanted to go. I just know I needed to make a move. So started with the world. Started
with the Navy. Was it everything that you thought it was? Was it less than you thought it was? Was it more? How was Navy?
I mean, honestly, it made me half the man I am today.
It did.
Yeah. I mean, I learned a lot of structure. I learned stability. I learned management. I learned perseverance, leadership from every level.
Okay.
You know, all the men that came before me, they invested a lot of time in me. The only way that I can repay them is to turn around and invest it in the younger sailors. So, you know, each one teach one. That's kind of how I came to
Love
me.
that.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. So, when do you actually get out?
Sometime next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, knock on wood.
Yeah.
They keep pushing my date back, but hopefully I get to leave in 8 months. So somewhere around, it should be somewhere around like August.
Okay, so
August
you're in the reserves. You got a full-time business now.
Full-time.
But before you started this business, let's talk about some of the things that your background,
right,
and how you got here. But let's talk about some of the things you've done through the years.
Well, I was currently the 2016 Sailor of the Year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Of the reserves. Yeah.
Get that.
Yeah.
Now, how do they rate that? How do they judge that? What happens?
It's based off of leadership.
Okay.
Leadership. Secondly, what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
Your subordinates, and how they excel and how they accelerate, and the contribution that you made overall to them.
So ultimately, it's just, they're really looking at your results.
Yeah.
What have you done,
Yeah.
right, with the position that you have,
right,
with the people that you have.
Yep, and they look at your history and say, this is where he was and this is where he is today. How did that correlate?
Wow.
So it was.
Did you have any idea that you were getting it, or?
No.
Wow.
They surprised me. They told me I was coming in for an inspection, and next thing you know, it was every superior that I ever seen in the military standing in front of me. So
You're like, hey, I'm either in trouble, or this is either a good day or my worst day.
You know, and you're one of the middle leaders. I'm looking back like, did I forget something? Did
Right.
I what's going on? And everybody's shoulders are bigger than mine.
Right. Wow.
So
Man.
it was a
So
really
then-
it was a really great season.
So then you found out what it was for.
Right.
So how was that, man?
Oh man, they rolled out the red carpet, presented me with a plaque of my home state and said, hey, you are Sailor of the Year.
Wow.
They do a big article in the All Hands magazine.
Wow.
You get you get some special phone calls.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get phone calls from the center and things like that, and awards. So it was pretty cool, and it's humbling to see your superiors say, "Hey, man, we didn't want to tell you, but this is what we think of."
Wow.
And that was a huge thing for me.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Especially
man.
at the end of your career when you're not looking for that. There's no award to say, "Hey, congratulations for helping out these 15, 20 some odd sailors."
So where do you think that came from, man? Where did you get this drive? Where did you get this? Because the energy that I get from you is you want things done a certain way because you know that's the way it's got to get done, and you're going to put things in steps to get it done. Was that always part of your DNA, or did the Navy help facilitate that?
I would have to say the Navy. I mean, I always had a relentless drive. I'm not gonna lie to you. Growing up in the South, especially deep South.
Sure.
It was a little harder than everybody else. I got a lot of no's. I had to work twice as hard to get some of the things that everybody else was given.
Okay.
So with that being said, that's why I could say I had a chip on my shoulder. I'd always had to, I studied harder than everybody else. I tried to, I made sure I knew whatever the information better than anybody else because I needed that.
So here's one of the golden nuggets, man, that we're going to pull out right now. So at the end of the day, right, and here's what you need to share to these people, is when you have that chip on your shoulder, I always say you have two choices. That chip on your shoulder is going to be your heaviest anchor or your strongest propeller, but you're the one that needs to decide that. Speak on that, man, because you walk that walk.
That is absolutely true. It can either go one or two ways. I use it as the biggest motivational factor I can have. I wanted more than what I had yesterday. Okay. And by doing that, and by sitting there studying a little bit harder, and sacrificing in the beginning, allowed for me to have a smoother transition and open up doors for me.
Because you took that massive effective action, which
Right.
I always say becomes magical, but you always had the option. Life gave you the option and said you could be the victim or you could be the victor,
True.
right? And it doesn't matter if that victor came because you had a chip on your shoulder or not.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is you got there and you made that decision, and that's what so many kids that you probably see on a daily basis we have that option. Which road are you going to take? Are you going to take the victim? Because victims never win. Or are you going to take that victor, right? And so you decided to take that victor direction, and it sounds like just by making that decision to go into the Navy was like a quantum leap for you.
Yeah.
Was a quantum
It was.
leap.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I would say I was rough. I would say I didn't have discipline like I do today. I was young.
Of course.
But no matter what I turned to these gentlemen, and I'm gonna say they're across the rainbow, Asian, black, white. These men looked at me and said, "Hey, we see something in you that you don't even see, and we're gonna take the time to straighten it out, and we're not gonna lose you." And when I seen somebody invest that much time into me, and then turn around and look at me and say, "Look at you now." The only way I can repay somebody for doing that for me is to turn around and do it to somebody else.
Yeah, you got it. You're paying it forward, right?
Absolutely.
And in life, when you take more than you give, you lose. That's just the recipe of life. You've got to give more than you take, and that's the ultimate recipe. So in the Navy, what are some of the things that you did? Like, I know you went to school. What did you go to school for? What did you?
Well, I went into school as an engineer.
Okay.
So as an engineer, when I started, you start from the bottom.
Okay.
So that means you're sitting there figuring out, like, what is a wrench? If you turn it to the right, what does it do? If you turn it to the left, like literally, they teach you hand over hand.
Right.
But now you take that person and then you push them forward by learning, because the military works in one way: merit. If you go in there and bust your butt, learn, they're gonna say, okay, you're doing good. Here's a little bit more. Here's a little bit more. You seem to got that down.
Let's see what he can handle.
So after investing that hands-on time, after 10, 15 years, you look back, you got an engineer that can build a system from the ground up. That's nuclear engines, propulsion. Everybody's in there. And these are 17-year-old kids all the way down to, me. So now you got a person when you come out of the military and you say, hey, I got the petroleum. Well, it was Phillip 66 for me.
Yes.
So I walked into an interview with a panel of people and they put this piece of equipment in front of me. They say, what is this? And I go, I have no clue. But you give me 5 minutes, I'll tell you what it does. So and they said, okay, well here it is. And I took it and broke this thing about and put it back together and handed it to them. And they were like, how'd you learn to do that? Navy. Would they have this piece of equipment? No, but it's kind of simple. They told me how to break stuff down and put it back together. There's no Home Depot. There's no Walmart in the middle of the water. So we got.
You better figure it out.
Yeah, so you better figure it out. Because this boat cannot stop.
Right.
Ain't nobody gonna say, hey, the Navy boat just stopped in the middle of the water. That's not gonna happen.
And see where that education trumps other educations that we talk about is the real world wisdom. It's the real life stuff. So that's what you were able to get from the Navy is the real world. What we need, like you said, we need to figure this out, and we need to figure this out yesterday. Because it's right. And when you're in the military, there's times where it could be life and death, and that really separates the pretenders from the real. And also, and that now you parlay that into the business world, and when you throw your chips in, your skins in the game, again, it's a lot of times it's a life or death situation. So how you handle it determines a lot of times your results and how you come out of it.
And that is our biggest concept today with me and the college.
Okay.
We took that same concept. If I want to be an engineer, you learn from engineers, right?
Right.
Well, if you want to be a teacher in early child care development, you should be learning from the teachers in early child care development.
It's 100%. It's funny, right? We talked about it's common sense, but it's so overlooked. Yeah. And it's the real. Real quick though, I want you to share this story a little bit of what you shared with me before we went on. You were working for Phillip 66,
absolutely,
right? You were in the grind.
In the grind.
Right? You were on
60-hour weeks.
You were on that treadmill.
Money's looking good.
Treadmill.
$60,000 a year bonuses. Just busting my butt.
Everyone's going, man, he's got it made. Look how, it's the white picket fence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But
that's what we're all shooting for.
Right. But most people, when you get behind that white picket fence, it's just not all roses. Yeah. So share that, man.
You're sitting there.
What was going on?
I mean, you're working. I mean, I work so much that I didn't have time to enjoy my family. But as a father, as a provider, you got check blocks you got to make. Everybody got to go to school. Jimmy need clothes.
Yep.
Mom need a new pair of shoes.
Yep.
The roof got to be on. I got to be able to buy the video games. Got to keep the lights on.
Yep.
And that's where I was. But doing that, I was losing that me time with my family.
Right.
So I figured it has to be something. Has to be a bit of.
How long were you doing that treadmill?
2 years.
Okay.
Top of the class. We were all the same age, man. We're making money right there out in Phillip 66, right there in Long Beach, California. Beautiful company. Great money, but that's where you live. You live and you work.
Right.
But where was my family going to be? Where was my time?
There you go.
That was the big thing for me.
So
that was my motivation.
So you start to think about what else is out there, what other opportunities are there, right? And that's what I want to convey to people is don't be afraid to look for that, because I always believe what you think about comes about, good or bad. So when you start to do that and you start to take that action, the people and the circumstances come into your life to start to make it happen. It's magical, right? It becomes magical. So now, fast forward the clock, you meet a pretty amazing woman that sounds like you kind of changed the direction of your life.
Absolutely. I met Alicia Valentine, my counterpart. Man, she's a creator. And me with my, me being all in the military, black and white, being part of the Navy, we can build anything.
Yep.
I was part of one of the greatest organizations in the United States. And by doing that, taught me all the structural things that I would say to to build in corporate America. That's literally how we function.
Yeah,
we function like a Fortune 500 company.
Absolutely. You have the structure.
Right.
And you know how to build that structure, build those systems in order to make those ideas come to fruition, right? And so when you do that, you guys have a really good marriage when it comes to business, right? Because you enhance each other's weaknesses.
True.
And that's, at the end of the day, that's business 101.
That is.
And that's your strength, is making sure that everything's moving and turning, and the T's crossed and the I's are dotted, so you can bring on more of those ideas and be able to scale.
That's
right?
true. That's true. No, that's absolutely right.
Okay.
Because I'm 50% of the pie technically. Even though my name is at the bottom and I signed the dotted line, I'm only half of the company. It takes two. It's like almost like yin and yang.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my counterpart, I stay in my lane, she stays in hers. The thing about it is that whatever I'm short at, she's great at. Whatever she's short at, I'm great at.
Yep.
And together there's a whole piece of the pie.
That's the key.
And that's the whole thing.
That's the key. So now talk about this. Introduce your company.
Well,
when you started, and then the whole what it's all about.
Absolutely. My name, like I told you, my name is Phillip White. I own Peoria Technical College. We specialize in early child care development. So we teach all the teachers who are in front of children 5 and under. So all your preschool teachers, your Montessori schools, some schools like KinderCare, Discovery Isle, pretty much everybody here on the Southern Coast.
Okay.
Yeah. We started out, we actually opened our doors and had our first student in February 2000.
Wow.
This year, 2017.
Wow.
This year.
Yeah.
We started the company before that, but to give you a caveat beyond that, the first thing I said is that I'm a single man who owns a college, and that's never been heard of. And what I have to say on that is that I had a counterpart that said, Alicia was like, hey, I think we can do this. And she went to the board and said, if you don't have a lot of money, how do you start a college?
Right.
And they're like, well, wait a minute. She's like, well, you got to be able to start somewhere. Everybody started somewhere.
Yep.
And she made him go back and look at the books. She ran over to me and said, hey, I think we can do it. And I was like, really? So me, I'm sitting there dotting the I's, talking to T's. Do I have enough money to do this? Do I have enough money? I'm like, you know what? Instead of taking this money and going and investing in an IRA, I'm going to take this leap of faith. I did all the math. I did it on the board. I used to have, just at my house. I did all the math, and I was like, I'm going to take a leap of faith. So I took my savings and I put it up for the company. She sold in her arena. She sold all her schools. She used to own child care centers. Sold all the schools and said, we're going to focus on this thing. We took a leap of faith of each other. To understand that each other knew what they were talking about.
Yep.
We asked a lot of questions, yelled, argued with each other, and then at the end of the day, comes down from the state of California, this single piece of paper. You are allowed to do what you do.
Wow.
And we took that and ran with it.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We started out with a desk no bigger than this, half of this right here, nothing but a desk. 2 phones and cell phones, and a belief.
And a work ethic and a drive, because we talked about that. The motivation, right? It's something that both of you saw a void, right? And we were going to talk about that, about people and companies charging way more than what they're giving, right? So they're taking more than they're giving, right? So that's never going to end well.
True.
Right? For either the side that's being taken from or both. That's just the reality. So you saw a void, and you said, you know what? I think we have the answer to fill that void. So you took that. So it's motivation, right? You got something that's going to get your attention, get those juices flowing, and then you have something that really hits you here, which is inspiration. Because once that motivation starts to wind down, the inspiration lifts it back up, and then you guys got plenty of perspiration. Right?
Well, our thing was, we were like, how are we going to do it? We literally said, I'm going to find every school that's labeled as a preschool from here to, Maine.
Yeah.
And we looked at California, and we wrote we got our list together.
Yep.
I want to say maybe 70,000, somewhere in there, about 70,000 schools, and we literally picked up the phone and said, hey, how you doing? We're the new kids on the block. By the way, I know they're charging too much. We'll do it for half the price, and plus, by the way, we're down the street. Secondly, we're going to do it cheaper. In other words, convenience, affordability, and flexibility.
That's what separates you.
That's what separates us.
Okay, and talk about some more things that separate you, because you had some great points before we went on. You know, you have teachers.
Absolutely.
You know, we're in your boardroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah.
So how do they learn?
So easily.
Okay.
You know, when you go to college, when you go to a regular college, you know, you can be taught by all kinds of professors. You know, they have degrees in their respective fields. Here at Theoria, one of the things that all the information that you're learning is taught by people that are actually in the industry today. Okay. They have their master's degrees or going for their doctorates in the field that they're teaching. So they're still viable.
They're relevant.
Yeah, they're still owners and directors of what you're going to see relevant out there in the field. So if you're going to be taught how to be the best you need to be taught by who's already out there being the best. And that's our thing. And so instead of investing in, you know, I ain't gonna lie, our facilities off the charts. But instead of investing in a building and filling my pockets, I invest in people. Just like the Navy invested in me. So every teacher that I have is where our investment goes. So I'll bring in the best, because obviously it's a no-brainer for me. It's a passion.
Right.
You know, I love kids, and I'm not gonna put out less than quality work. You know, here in Southern California, I mean, everybody knows our education system is trying to be rebuilt. So, but like any other foundation, if you don't have the foundation, how can you build upon it? So we're gonna start at the bottom.
And here's the other thing: if you don't have the right intention, see, if
Yeah.
you don't have the right intention,
Yeah.
now you're you're moving in a whole nother direction.
Yeah.
When you have that pure intention, right, you become bulletproof, and you start to build, because your name is on it.
That's true.
That your name is on it.
That is true.
And I'm sure that the Navy had a lot to do with that pride, right?
Yeah.
Of building that pride within you, and that's pretty much how you got the award. Right?
Yeah, true.
They saw what you brought to the table, but it came from here.
Absolutely.
And that's the difference. And it sounds like that's a difference between, in your industry, some just don't come from here.
Right.
You know, they come from here, right? They come.
You try not to. I mean, teachers are important,
Yeah.
and we try not to extinguish that fire.
Yeah.
You know,
You want to light it.
and so
Yeah.
when I go out and visit these centers where my teachers are actually come through our school and finish our program, I get these owners and these directors come through and they say, "Hey, man, I just want to say thank you. Hey, our teachers are fired up. They got these new lesson plans they're ready to talk to the kids about." You know, and that's where I'm like, okay, well, maybe, okay, now I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
now I know what I'm doing.
You feel like you're really giving value, and you're making a difference.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is, like, literally, pound for pound, I'm making more money than I did the day before by following these simple rules.
Love that, man.
By simple rules.
Love that. It's just taking that next step, moving forward. And I always say that the darkness is only temporary as long as you keep moving forward. The only time it becomes permanent is when you go back into safety.
That's true.
Right? Now you had the option to stay in your safety zone, right?
Yeah.
In that company you were working for, because everyone around you said, "What
Everything
a great
was good.
thing."
Yeah, everything
What,
was
are you
good.
crazy? Why would you do this? Right? But the only way to grow is that bite into something that scares you and excites you at the same time. That
That's
just
true.
means it's big enough. Right? That just means it has a dynamic duo, and that's what it sounds like you're doing here. So now the next question is, where do you see yourself 2 years and 5 years? Where do you see yourself? Because you're a systems guy, and you already got it on your board.
Well, the only way, you're right.
I know.
I honestly want to be probably bigger. I want to have my own university.
Beautiful.
I want to have my own
Okay.
university.
All right.
And I've set the goal. I got some check blocks to get there, but that's where I'm going.
Okay.
You know, I want something to be left not only by me, but I want my kids to have this, and I want to leave an impression.
So when you say your own university, do you mean a brick and mortar? Do you mean an online? What's your definition?
Oh, I'm sorry. Both.
Okay. Okay.
So right now, you know, we teach in 3 different languages. We teach in Mandarin, Spanish, and English.
Okay.
All the teachers, I teach the teachers that come in from China in San Gabriel because they teach their own culture. So I don't see me stopping. I want to bring that quality of teacher to everybody who's here in America. Now, when I signed and we got our first license, let's call it that, we thought we were just for state of California. But after talking in a couple of committees, it's like, hey, do you know that the license you got is for the United States of America?
Right.
I was like, uh-oh.
Our territory is expanded.
Right. So, but we're qualifying before we walk. I just want to, build our business and build our school to do just that. I want our name to be out there. And that's really where we're at right now. Okay. Our governing body, the ones who say yay and nay, they're like, hey, you having a problem with your teachers? I think you need to call these guys. Because we didn't invent some new system. It's not new.
There's no new wheel.
No, there's no new wheel. But we run an accelerated program with 2016 information, with 2016 teachers that still love what they do. So when you in our industry, there's a lot of turnover of teachers. So there's always looking for that new hire that they need, and you can't be out of ratio. Meaning that if you got 12 kids, you need to have one teacher. As soon as you get one more child, you need to bring in a whole nother teacher. So that school, for that matter, can never be out of ratio. They got to have that. So you got to have a qualified teacher, and we're the most, current accelerated program out there, and we're pretty efficient. So we're one of their go-tos. I mean, there's a lot of schools out there that do what we do. I mean, we do it in less than 30 days. Typically, a teacher usually takes between 5 and 2 weeks to get through one of our classes. But by policy, we give them 90 days. Now, if you go to Maricosta, which is, I'm just naming names, like a community college,
sure.
It's like 8 weeks to get that same level. And if you go to university, UCLA, or USC, it's 16 weeks to get the same level. Why would you want to do that when you can make $2 more directly if you go get this in 2 weeks and go back to your employer? I'm your preferred method. And that's what we bring to the table. We got the state to buy off on our plan, because our classes you can view from on-site and online. On-site and online. So the same person that's sitting here like me and you can be in the stars, you can be overseas, you can be in Russia, talking to you right here, getting a lesson from the teacher. So I brought that. So when you have teachers that are like in Ramona, on the other side of the mountains, they can pipe into this class and get these classes. Everybody has a 9 to 5, so we do it around their schedule. We do our classes on the weekend.
Wow.
And we got the state to buy off on the program, and they love it.
Wow.
Because we're filling that void.
Wow. And I know you're looking to take the next step, because you have some grants coming in, and you got some things working to take that next step. And this is what I believe is the biggest takeaway from you and your story and your partner is, and I always say this, especially for people that have never been in business before, and they have this idea and they want to go, but then they want to go and they want to go. At the end of the day, right, you are live and in living color, right, about don't worry about the how, as long as the why is big enough in the very beginning. So your why was, I needed more time for my family.
True.
I'm on a treadmill. There's got to be something better than this. Yeah. That's my why. Now you're the how guy, right? That's in your DNA. Yeah. You will figure that out. And how many times throughout your week, right? You have a brand new business. How many times throughout your week are you learning something brand new? I didn't know that. Yeah. Right? Well, how could you until you took that step?
That's true.
You can't know it all until you keep moving forward.
That's true.
And if you do know it all before you start, that's just not big enough. That's the real.
It was a few things. Like, we did our homework.
Sure.
You got to do your homework.
Yep.
And then after you do your homework, you say, hey, you got to know your industry.
Yes.
You got to know your industry. You got to know who your competitors are. If you don't, you need to go hire some people to help you find out who your competitors are.
Right.
Once you do those simple things, and you got to say, can I do this?
Right.
You got to look at the whole plan and say, before I make this jump, how am I going to make it work? You got to go to the what if. Like, I didn't have a plan B.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we're taught a concept that when you have a plan A and a plan B, you never fully work plan A.
You always have that.
You always have
safety
that.
net.
You're like, oh, I'm good. But if you have a different way. You say, you know, if this don't work, I can go this way. But if you have only a plan A,
burn those boats, baby. Burn those boats.
You will give your 110% to plan A because it has to work.
You will make it. You'll figure it out.
The mindset is the key.
Love that.
In everything.
Love that. It is. It's the foundation.
Yeah.
And it's everything. But if someone is here and listening to your story, make no mistake, there's things that happen on his daily routine, his daily basis that he didn't know 3 months ago.
True.
You can't.
True.
You can't until you start to move forward. And then once you do learn that, right? Yeah. Either you learned it right away or you lost time and money, but either way, you gained wisdom.
That's true.
Right? And at the end of the day, it's all about the wisdom that you gain and all the wisdom that you gained with the Navy. Yeah. Right? And I love that you guys are the perfect combination for success because now with your systems, right? Yeah. With your formulas, with your work ethic, along with your partner's drive, determination, work ethic, and her ideas and her DNA, it just molds like that.
It does.
It's that perfect scenario. And that's what I want to get across is if you don't, whatever your weakness is, find those people that you trust to now enhance those.
Oh, you got to have a team.
You got to enhance those.
You got to have a team.
It's so true. It's so.
You know, I've read books. I've been through I want to say 20, 30 leadership classes. And the first thing they always say, hey, know your team, know the weaknesses, know the strengths. I mean that if you're going to be an effective leader, know what you got in front of you.
Absolutely.
So you can know how to push and pull your pieces.
Absolutely.
So you know when they're at their limit, you know when you got to step in and do something different. You know, other than that, once you build that team, there's pretty much not a problem that I think that you can't conquer. And that goes across the board. That's not just, you know, in my little world. That's just a general rule of being an entrepreneur.
It's being a leader. Right? Being a leader, even a leader in a family, right? When you're a leader in your family, a mom or a dad, know your kids, right? Yeah. Know their strengths, their weaknesses. Yeah. And I think that all boils down to this. And you know, I watched an interview with Jack Welch. Now, if anybody's not familiar with Jack Welch, he was the CEO of General Electric for 30 years, right? So he had over 400,000 people under him at one time, right? And when he really hit his peak, he started another business. And what his business and his partners would do is they'd buy and sell businesses. And they got so good at it that they were buying a new business or an existing business one a day. They were buying over 200 businesses a year. So the lady says, what's the biggest mistake you made in business, Jack? He didn't even blink an eye. He goes, and he's 80-something years old. He says, it's not even a second place. He said, whenever we bought a business, whenever we looked at the P&L and the margins before we looked at the culture of the business, it came back to bite us. He said, culture will always win over everything. And that's really what you're talking about, is building that culture, because a leader knows how to build and sustain a solid culture.
Yeah, true.
In a business.
But there are those things that hold you back. You know, like you said, if you choose the wrong team members,
right?
They will hinder you from your ultimate goal.
And what's the old saying is, hire slow, fire fast. Yeah. Right? So keep that culture, keep that strength, keep that unity, cut out the cancer. Because if you don't, it spreads. Yeah. If you don't cut out that cancer, it spreads. So how happy are you that you made this decision?
Oh man, I can't tell you how it is to follow your heart and your dreams. Right. And to actually see it pay off. You know, you feel your worth more than anything else. Right. Right. You know, I'm not gonna lie. There's always gonna be that person that you know, there's got to be somebody who make the fries at McDonald's. There got to be somebody who's going to manage McDonald's. But there also is the owner. Not everybody's an owner. Right. You know what I mean? Yep. But you got to recognize that. Yeah. You know, one of the things they said, hey, you know, one of my mentors told me, he was like, if you want to be in business, why don't you hang around people who want to be in business? You know, your conversations are different.
Absolutely.
You know, you want to be an eagle, better go fly with eagles.
Absolutely.
You can't be an eagle hanging around with the ducks.
You become a duck.
You become
what you hang around with.
Yeah,
and
you become the duck. So
and it's the old saying: if I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm in the wrong room.
Yeah,
right?
and
that's the real.
When I sit down with the mayor and the guys in the room, I'm sitting down there with the presidents of UCLA, USC, Maricopa, and we're having the same conversation. They're like, "Oh, you're in early child care. Oh, okay." You know, and I'm like, wait a minute, man. There's like a lot of people between me. You have universities. You have you have brick and mortar. You're online, and they're looking at me like, I understand why you're doing what you're doing. Good job. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm lining up in the right direction. Okay, I got
Absolutely.
my sights right.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But they and even I more so now than then understand that there's steps that you got to take.
Yep.
You know, they're on the same level as me. They've just been in business longer.
Absolutely.
You know?
And they just have a few more resources.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, my time is not now, but it's coming.
Right.
You know, and like I was saying earlier, you know, in our world, we started out with like a simple desk, you know, and then next thing you know, I had, 2 rooms. I went from 2 rooms to, my own suite, and from a suite, it's like now I want the floor, because business is good. But the main thing is that we had a plan.
Yep.
We had a system. You know, even if it had broken parts, it was still a system. You can
Yep.
fix broken parts, just like a car. You exchange the parts, the car keeps running. And that was the thing. I had to take that leap of faith. I had to trust in my judgment, trust that I can do the research, trust in my partnerships, trust in my ability to lead. Also, I crafted myself, meaning I started saying, how do I become a better leader? Yeah. I mean, I started reading more, started listening more. I started entrusting liking kind friends that's doing the same business. I had to look at, I'm like, how do you advertise? How do you, what is social media? You have to ask yourself these simple questions.
Yep.
But you have to be taught. You have to be taught. And when you can't teach yourself, you go find somebody who that is their passion. Bring them on board. Like you said, add the team. All those components are what make you successful.
Love it, man.
Absolutely.
Love it. Is there anything you want to add before we do jump off? Because when we jump off, you're going to be able to put your links up there, reconnect with everyone that jumped on both Instagram and Facebook. Anything you want to add?
Well, I'll say this.
Yeah.
We specialize in early child care development. And if you want to change directions, or you want to become an educator or a teacher and you have a passion for kids, then definitely come look our way. Even if your school is not your thing, we would love to point you in the right direction, because as a community we can build this whole state, and that's pretty much my point. I love where I'm at. I love my community. I love my people, and that's why I'm here, and that's my passion and my company's passion. I'm not only the founder and CEO, I'm also a father, so I believe in it totally.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it. You guys are definitely making a difference, and I'm looking forward to seeing this thing grow and seeing how things happen in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Come back and check on us.
No, absolutely. We'll stay connected.
Yeah.
We'll stay connected. We might even do some events here at your location. So we're definitely going to stay connected. And so we end the show the same way. Okay, I'm a big believer that life asks the questions, and life makes the rules, right? And life is asking you a question right now, Phillip. Even though I know the answer, Phillip, if you could live your life purring like a kitten or roaring like a lion, what would you do?
I roar like a lion.
That's it. We're going to take this out Monster Motivator style, baby. It's called the Monster Motivator Roar. You ready? And it looks like this. And the sound is just as important as the pose. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Ah!